listening to Reality Wrap. I'm your host, Melanie. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into Reality Wrap. Today I'm going to be recapping the Real Housewives of Potomac Season 8, Episode 2, which to me felt like it was still like a premiere episode. We were covering a lot of things that happened last season, and we're still seeing like the women see each other for the first time since the reunion last year. So it was a little bit of a slower episode, and it was also an extended episode, which it seems like Bravo's doing this on all of their shows now. They're adding an extra 15 minutes on here and there. I'm not really sure why. Maybe because they're only giving us 14 episodes in the season and then a 2-part reunion. So maybe they're just tacking on an extra 15 minutes here or there. But honestly, this episode did not need to be an extra 15 minutes. In my eyes, it didn't really seem to get going until like the last 20 minutes when we were at Ashley's house. Most of the scenes seemed kind of almost not scripted, but they were set up scenes. Like they knew like, okay, we got to film a scene, so let's just put something together. That's kind of how it felt to me. I am excited that we get a new housewife. I do feel like we need a new housewife just to kind of replace how boring Robin is. I mean, unfortunately, Robin is still on the show, but I feel like at least a new housewife will kind of mix it up this season. And then maybe we can exit stage left Miss Robin next season because if these first 2 episodes are any indication as to what she's going to bring, yeah, I'm good. She can go. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the recap. I do want to let you guys know that I will not be recording next week. I do have family coming in for Thanksgiving on Sunday night, so I'm just not going to have the time to record anything all next week, but I will be back the following week. So this episode starts and we're with Ashley and she's meeting up with her mom at the plant nursery. She's having a housewarming party and she wants to buy some flowers. Her mom asks her who's coming to the housewarming party and she's like, well, I'm inviting my friend Nneka, who I met through somebody else. I can't remember who she said it was. And she is Nigerian and she is also a lawyer. And her mom's like, are you inviting Michael to the party? And she's like, well, he's invited, but he's probably not going to come. And her mom's like, I was really surprised that you guys went to the Bahamas together. Ashley tells her that it was one of the better times that they had together, that he was incredibly respectful. He didn't try anything. Nothing had happened between them. And it was just like 2 friends who took their kids on vacation. So at least for the kids' sake, those 2 seem to be getting along pretty well. So that's really good. Her mom then brings up the lawsuit between Michael and Candace and how Michael's suing Candace. And she asks if Michael's going to move forward with it. And Ashley's like, yeah, you know, it really affected his business. And then she tells us that she actually doesn't know anything about the lawsuit and that everything she hears about it is off the internet like everybody else. I kind of question how true that is because she knows that it's affecting his business. So clearly he has talked to her about that. I would be very surprised if they didn't talk about it in private and she's just pretending to not know, which I understand. That is her kid's father. She is still financially dependent on this man. So she is not going to spill any beans when it comes to what she knows about Michael suing Candace. For those of you who don't remember or maybe didn't know, Michael Darby is suing Candace for $2 million for when she said on the show last season, your husband likes to leave and go to a man, and then the name was censored, go to his house and suck his dick. And then later on, she didn't say who the person was, but she claims that Michael pays for sex. So now he's suing her for defamation. How this affects his businesses, I'm not really sure, unless he had like people back out of deals or something like that because that came out, or they just didn't want to be associated with someone who's got all this kind of stuff going on. I don't know why that would affect his businesses. It seems kind of stupid, but as we all know, people like to sue people for everything. So I guess time will tell to see what happens with this. I haven't been able to find anything online stating it's going to trial or there's been anything like that. So I don't really know where it stands as of right now, other than he's just suing her. We're now with Mia and Karen, and they're meeting up at the basin to go on a walk. When Karen arrives, Mia tries to give her a hug, and Karen's like, no, we have to have a conversation first before we're at the hugging level. And so she shakes her hand, was so funny. So they're walking, and Karen tells us in her talking head that she never expected Mia to lie about her last season. Karen tells Mia, I was nothing but a friend to you last year, and then you started this rumor about me hooking up with some friend of hers. Mia tells her, I didn't lie. Someone told me that rumor. I didn't make it up. Karen tells her, you broke girl code. Karen tells her, you broke girl code by repeating it. But I do feel like with us talking, there is hope for us to become friends again. Karen tells her that she would never spread rumors about her and Gordon, and that kind of leads her into asking how Gordon and her are doing. Mia tells her they are going through it. Karen's like, yeah, when Giselle brought up the embezzlement at the reunion, I was kind of like, whoa, what's that? What's crazy is that Mia tells her, actually, when I first heard it, I believed it also, but as it turns out, that was not the case. Mia then tells her that she's in a better place than she was last year now that she's quit drinking hard liquor, and how last year she was drinking while she was taking medication. And Karen's like, I'm really glad that you said that, because everything you were doing seems so out of character for you. And then we see her throwing the drink on Wendy. Karen's like, you really should talk to Wendy after you threw that drink at her. And she's like, yeah, I agree. So they finish talking, and it seems like they're going to work on their friendship, which is good. Over at Candace's house, her manager comes over, and she brings her manager into her office, which has a folding table for her desk and folding chairs for her chairs. I don't know if she just hasn't ordered a desk or picked out a desk yet, or maybe it's being made. I don't know. But I would think one of the first things I would have done is the rooms that are like right off of my front door, because when someone comes walking through the front door, that's the first thing they see. So the first thing they see is her office with this, as her husband calls it, barbecue table and folding chairs. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what her situation is. I'll never understand some of these people who spend like millions of dollars on these huge houses, and then they don't have the money to furnish them. So you walk into their house and they have like a folding table with folding chairs as their desk instead of like furniture, or they have empty rooms. I'll never understand that, why people buy these giant houses and then they don't have the money to furnish them. So Candace and her manager are talking about the tour, and he's talking about getting guests for her Chicago stop, and he suggests getting Drew from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And they show us a flashback of them doing like this very small duet together. But what's interesting is that Candace asks if there's anybody else that they can use, and he's like, well, yeah, we do have the person we used last year. And she says, yes, we should do that. So I don't know what happened between her and Drew, but she definitely seems like she doesn't want anything to do with Drew, or at least in a singing capacity, which I found super interesting. Her manager's like, why are you being hesitant towards Drew? And she's like, well, I sold out the Chicago show last time, so I don't think I need to bring anybody there anyway. We're now over at Robin's house. Wah, wah. And of course, she's doing something so exciting. She is sorting her supplements. I'm like, oh my God, Robin, you're so boring. Juan comes downstairs and she says to him, I know you don't care, but because I need something to talk about. The women have been talking, and Giselle had me over the other day for what felt like was an intervention about what is going on with everything that's come out. His response is, don't they know that we've already had conversations about this? And Robin tells him, well, they were just concerned that you put yourself in a position to be photographed again after the laundromat photo came out. Then you were photographed at the nail salon. Juan says, I don't care. Yeah, we know you don't care, Juan. We know you don't care about Robin, and we know you don't care about what everybody says about you being with other women. Robin tells him that Giselle is more concerned about how it will make Robin look, and that Giselle wants Robin to be mad. And he's like, well, be mad then. Start breaking stuff. And she's all like, oh, I know. Should I key your car? And she plays it off like she just doesn't care and that she's unbothered, which I think she is not unbothered. She's just given up because she knows if she's going to stay with Juan, she's just going to have to accept that this is the way it is. He really doesn't care. He doesn't care about hurting her feelings or really their marriage. I honestly think he's just there for the kids at this point, and she knows it. He tells her that everybody has different issues that they have to deal with, and he just doesn't care. Robin tells us in her talking head that she doesn't care what everybody else thinks, that they can talk amongst themselves. Robin then asks Juan how he's doing after all that's going on at work. He's like, I did everything I was supposed to, and it was just an unfortunate situation. And I really love my guys, and really, that's all that really matters. I just put everybody else ahead of me most of the time. Yeah, except for Robin. When it comes to Robin, she's in the very back of the line of all the other people that he puts in front of her. My God. We finally get to meet NECA and her husband Ike, and they're checking out on the progress of their new house that they just bought and is being renovated. She's just moved to Potomac, and she tells us that her generational wealth had caused a delay in her closing because she didn't list all the other properties that she owns. She starts going through all the different places she owns: 2 houses in Wisconsin, which is where she's from, Florida, Maryland, and maybe a couple in Nigeria. She can't remember. I was like, damn, girl. We learn that her husband, Ike, is a doctor, and he also owns a nightclub. We find out that they're trying to have kids, but they are having issues. So every morning she gets up and she tests her hormones, and then she takes all of her supplements with champagne. I was like, oh my God, you cannot start your morning with champagne. That maybe could be part of the problem. I don't know. But she says that she starts her day with bubbles and she ends her day with bubbles. We're now with Wendy, who is looking for a studio space because she is starting a talk show. So here we go again with another business venture. What happened to her nightclub that she was going to open? I guess that's done. Also, is she still an assistant professor at Johns Hopkins? And wasn't her whole thing last season that she was doing too much, so she needed to back off all of that? But now here she is, she's starting a talk show, and she's really hoping that it could be on Bravo or E, or I don't know, she lists a bunch of different stations. She wants to talk about politics and also get ratchet. So her producer shows her a studio space that has an area where she can do a cooking segment and also a place where she can do interviews. And Wendy's like, yeah, well, I'm already over my budget. And then they discuss what the name of the show should be. Wendy comes up with goofy names like Zen Wen, Wendy's Wisdom, and her manager doesn't seem impressed with all of them. So I guess this is going to be Wendy's storyline this season, is this talk show she's trying to start. We now get Karen, who's meeting up with Ashley, Mia, and Giselle to do Pilates. Ashley is sporting new boobs, and I think she named them Diamond and something else. I don't know. What is with these people who name their boobs? Can't they just be boobs? She asks the lady if some of the moves will be okay, and she's like, yeah, you'll be fine. Karen tells them that since her mom was a cardiac patient and she's coming up on her triple 20, and I was like, wait, triple 20, what is that? I was like, oh, her 60th birthday, duh. So she recently went and had a bunch of tests done, and she found out that she has something like a 5% blockage in one of her main arteries, but it's not threatening, that she caught it in time so she could stop it with diet and exercise. So that is why she's randomly picked Pilates, I guess. So they do their Pilates session, and it was silly. They're done with that. Mia gets up and goes to the bathroom, and Giselle asks Karen how her and Mia are doing. She's like, we're doing okay. We met at the park and we had a talk. Mia comes back. Giselle brings up how Ashley, Charisse, and her had met up with Robin, and how Robin had been under fire with all this Juan stuff. And she wants to know if Karen is going to apologize to Robin. Karen's like, for what? She's like, well, you said that Juan had a woman in Georgetown and that ended up being a rumor. And Karen's like, I could give Robin a little grace, but I do believe that there is some truth to it. Giselle repeats again, it was a rumor. And Karen's like, I don't know about international. I only know about domestic issues. But I also feel like Robin owes me an apology. Karen then asks Ashley if she's divorced yet. She says no, but I do live on my own, and my name is the only name on the deed of this home, which is funny because the house is actually in an LLC. So I'm going to guess that Michael is listed in that LLC. And I think she even said that last season, didn't she? Or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, it isn't an LLC. Maybe it's just her LLC. I don't really know. I tried finding information on it online and I couldn't. Mia brings up how Michael is suing Candace, and Ashley's like, I really can't talk about that. Candy's like, how do you guys all feel about Candace? And Ashley's like, well, she told me never to talk to her again.
She told me to never talk to her again.
Okay, hold on.
Wait, what? Candace had said something at the reunion about something I had done or was trying to do, and I texted her proof that wasn't true. She says you have shown yourself to be someone who will conspire with your castmates to lie and embellish about very dangerous accusations for entertainment purposes. I never did that.
Mia asks if she's coming to Ashley's housewarming party, and she's like, no, I didn't invite her, which of course she didn't invite her because Michael is suing Candace. So if Michael does own part of that house, or his name is listed on that house anywhere, even though I know Ashley says he's not, there's no way she can have Candace in the house with him suing her. So it makes sense. Ashley tells them that her new friend NECA is going to be there, so she's excited for all of them to meet her, and also she's the new housewife, and I'm sure they're all fully aware of that. Mia asks if there will be a special guy at the party, and Ashley's like, nope. And then she asks Giselle, what about you? And Karen's like, Giselle is dating a man 16 years younger than her, and when he was born, Giselle was in high school or graduating or something like that. It was pretty funny. A little bit on the hypocritical side, considering that Karen married Ray, who is like 25 years older than her or something. So for her to be throwing shade at Giselle for dating a younger man, I'm kind of like, well, Karen, I mean... you kind of have the same situation, and you actually married your guy. So it's now the day of Ashley's housewarming party. Uncle Lump is there. Ashley talks about how excited she is to have all of her friends over to her new house. Giselle is the first one to arrive, and she's like, oh, your house is so cute. And then she's standing outside with Uncle Lump and Ashley, and she brings up how, isn't Michael supposed to give you an hour's notice before he comes by? Which was so random. I don't know why she said that. And Ashley's like, yeah, I no longer expect that because, he has the children, which makes sense, obviously. All the other women start to arrive. Mia, Giselle, and Karen are all sitting together. Charisse arrives, and she comes in, and her and Karen are wearing similar outfits once again, and we see a flashback to them last season where they were wearing outfits that were almost identical. Ashley decides to give them a house tour, so she's showing them around. She's telling them that everything is coastal chic, which is funny because she's not even close to the water, which I think Mia points that out. Wendy arrives, and she comes in and she says hi to Ashley, Karen, and Charisse. And what was so funny, when she came in to say hello to, I can't remember who Giselle was standing next to, but Giselle takes this giant step off to the side, like Wendy was gonna give her cooties or something. I was like, what the heck, Giselle? Wendy tells us in her talking head that the time of civility is gone, and she only greeted those who she wanted to greet, which good for her. So they go downstairs, and Sesame Street has arrived, which I don't know why she's here. I cannot stand her. Even seeing her, I'm like, ugh. Everyone goes out back to eat. Robin finally arrives, and she says hello to everybody. NECA arrives, and Ashley starts introducing her to everybody. So they all say hello to her. A producer asks Wendy if she's ever met NECA before, and she's like, I don't know. Have I met her? She's like, I've seen her around. Wendy and NECA give a lesson on how to say NECA's name. I'm kind of bummed that it seems like these two are going to be kind of fighting all season, because I feel like they probably would have been pretty cool together. They're both very educated women. They're both Nigerian, and it appears that if it weren't for Ashley, they probably would have gotten along pretty well. Ashley then has decided that she wants to talk to Wendy privately. So they go inside and they sit down. And Wendy's like, I'm so proud of you. I really can feel the love in your house, and that's super important with the kids and all of that. Wendy then asks Ashley about everything that transpired between Sesame Street and how she said that Eddie was being flirty, and how she calls him Flirty Eddie or whatever it was that she calls him. And she just wants to make sure that Ashley isn't going to stab her in the back if given the opportunity. Ashley's like, well, I think that you don't see me as trustworthy because we don't spend a lot of time together, and I feel like this makes you guarded and that you don't really want to share with the group. Wendy tells her that she just wants to make sure that what she does share is in safe hands, which... Ashley tells her, well, I told you about what Sesame Street said about Eddie because I thought you would want to know. Yeah, Ashley, you also did it on camera, so we know exactly what you were doing. Ashley then says, along the line of me telling you stuff, I just want to let you know that I was talking with NECA, and I was talking to her about how you were a doctor and you were like this really accomplished person. And NECA said, oh, is she a medical doctor? And she said, no, she's a PhD. And NECA says, oh, so she's a doctor of philosophy. And then in the flashback clip, it really doesn't appear that Nneka was trying to be shady, that she just said it like as a clarification, like, oh, okay, so she's a doctor of philosophy. I didn't understand why Ashley presented it as she said it to be shady. I mean, it was kind of weird because it definitely did not come off in the clip that she was being shady. And how come we didn't get to see this full lunch? How come we're just seeing it as a flashback clip? I feel like maybe we should have seen this during this episode instead of some of the other filler shit that we were seeing. We then see another clip of this lunch where Ashley brings up about how she saw an article how Wendy is Asu and she doesn't understand what that is. So she asks Nneka, can you explain what that is?
What happened where there was some rumor about her family being shunned or something? Is that like a common thing, or?
Did they say why she was being shunned?
They are Osu, cursed or something like that?
It's kind of like a group of people who were like offered up to this native or local king.
Okay.
And those people, like the families that give up their children, are considered Osu.
Okay.
And it's literally been abolished, you know?
It's been abolished, so like it's...
Like people still remember and, you know, don't want to necessarily be associated with it. I don't know if she is. I know I'm not, but I don't know if she is or what's going on there.
And she basically was like, oh, Osu is like terrible. And I was like, what? Like...
The way you told Wendy, it makes it seem like Nneka was talking trash about her.
Uh-huh. That's how I remembered it. I really said it like it was that tequila. Oh, I shouldn't have drank.
Wendy explains to her, yeah, that is a real thing. It's ancient. I am not that, or Osu. And basically when she came to her sip and see and everybody was there, if she was Osu, then nobody would have shown up because you're kind of an outcast amongst the group. What bothers me is the talking head that Wendy does, and she's like pretty much insinuating that Nneka was the one who brought this up. In her talking head, she's like, you know, you're coming into our group and you're bringing up a blog article. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. It wasn't her. It was Ashley. She was the one who brought it up and was asking her to explain it to her because she was also Nigerian. Nneka wasn't saying, oh, I saw this article about Wendy, or at least we didn't see that. Maybe we haven't seen that yet. But as of right now, it looks like Ashley was the one who was stirring the pot and presenting it like Nneka was the one who was coming up with all this about Wendy when it was clearly Ashley. And I was like, oh my God, Ashley, you are messy as fuck. I want to like Ashley because she seems like this fun, quirky, cute girl, but then she does shit like this and I'm just like, ah. Anyway, that's all I have for the Real Housewives of Potomac. I will be back tomorrow with my recap of Salt Lake City. So I'll talk to you guys then. Bye.